Hello everyone, in this video we have compiled the 10 poorest countries in the world for you. If you are ready, let's start. 10. Mozambique. Mozambique is a country rich in natural resources and has made great strides towards becoming one of Africa's fastest growing economies. However, the country is still recovering from a 16-year civil war that began when it gained independence from Portugal in 1975 and ended in 1992. The 2018 UN Human Development Report estimates a gross national income, GNI, per capita of $1,093 and a life expectancy of 58.9. According to the World Bank's most recent estimate in 2014, over 46% of Mozambicans live below the poverty line. While it's anticipated that citizens will complete 9.7 years of schooling, the mean years of schooling completed is just 3.5. Concern previously worked in Mozambique between 1984 and 2017 and returned to the country in 2019 following the landfall of two major cyclones in the country, including Cyclone Idai. This emergency response has now moved into an early recovery phase as we equip subsistence farmers with seeds and other agricultural inputs to help them replace crops destroyed by flooding. 9. Liberia. Africa's oldest republic, Liberia suffered from a series of civil wars between 1989 and 2003. While peace has now outlasted war, GNI per capita is a mere $667 with a life expectancy of 63. Liberia was also hit hard by the West African Ebola epidemic of 2014-16, which infected 10,675 Liberians and killed 4,809. The outbreak has had a lasting impact on the livelihoods of survivors. The World Bank's most recent survey of the country in 2016 estimated nearly 51% of the population living below the poverty line. While education is expected to last 10 years, most Liberians only complete 4.7 years of schooling. The needs are enormous, and Concern has been active in Liberia for 23 years working to offset the effects of poverty. This includes helping with clean water initiatives to support the 42.5% of Liberians without access to protected wells, nutritional programs to offset the 35.5% of children who are stunted, and initiatives against malaria and gender-based violence. 8. Mali. The fourth largest country on the African continent, Mali's capital of Bamako once flourished as a trading post. Today, however, the country, which gained independence from France in 1960, has a GNI per capita of $1,953 and a life expectancy of 58.5. Ongoing war and conflict mean that the mean years of schooling in the country is just 2.3, compared to an expected 7.7 years of schooling. The World Bank's most recent data from 2009 revealed that over 41% of the population lives below the poverty line. 7. Burkina Faso. Bordered by both Mali, number 8, and Niger, number 1, Burkina Faso is another former French colony that has suffered conflict and coups following its independence in 1960. Drought has also plagued the country, resulting in a mean 1.5 years of schooling compared to the expected 8.5 years. Burkina Faso's GNI per capita is $1,650, with a life expectancy of 60.8. The World Bank's 2014 data indicate just over 40% of the population living in poverty. 6. Sierra Leone. A UN peacekeeping mission helped to quell Sierra Leone's 11-year civil war in 2002. While the country's economy has grown in peacetime, it was one of the two countries hit hardest by the 2014 to 2016 Ebola epidemic alongside Liberia, number 9. The World Bank's most recent data predates this epidemic, with 2011 estimates indicating nearly 53% of Sierra Leoneans living below the poverty line. The country has a life expectancy of 52.2 years, with a GNI per capita of $1,240 and a mean years of schooling at 3.5, compared to the expected 9.8 years. Concern first entered Sierra Leone during the country's civil war, and we've been there for 23 years. While the Ebola outbreak has passed and the economy has rebounded in part due to the resumption of iron ore mining, the outlook is still challenging. One area of focus for us is the country's environmental challenges, which are directly linked to a number of potential emergencies, such as the 2017 mudslide. 4. Chad. Despite a $4 billion pipeline that links the country's oil fields to coastline terminals, Chad is one of the world's poorest countries thanks to poor infrastructure and conflict, most notably from the militant group Boko Haram. Ongoing conflict and the effects of climate change mean that nearly 48% of Chadians live in a state of economic vulnerability, per World Bank data from 2011. The country's per capita CNI is $1,750 and its average life expectancy is 53.2 years. Most children receive a mean of 2.3 years of schooling, compared to the expected 8 years. Concern has worked in Chad for 12 years, and in the last 2 years we've stepped up our efforts in an already precarious country following added aggravation that has left 4.7 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. We are responding to the humanitarian needs of displaced populations in the Lake Chad area, implementing health and nutrition programs to deliver life-saving assistance. Our work in the Sila region of eastern Chad focuses on building community resilience to counter potential disasters. 3. South Sudan. The Republic of South Sudan gained independence in July 2011, but has experienced a long history of conflict, displacement, and deepening humanitarian needs. As of 2016, the World Bank estimates over 82% of the South Sudanese population are living in extreme poverty. While mean years of schooling are comparable to expected years, 4.8 and 4.9 years, respectively, life expectancy is just 57.3 years and GNI per capita is $963. Widespread displacement puts untold pressure on people's ability to cope, with over 2 million South Sudanese refugees living abroad and another 1.74 million internally displaced. Concern's work in South Sudan has gone hand in hand with the country's timeline. In response to the growing needs, we provide emergency, resilience, and long-term development programming. 2. Central African Republic. Unsurprisingly, the world's hungriest country is also one of the poorest. In the 2018 Global Hunger Index, GHI, the Central African Republic was the only country with hunger levels classified as extremely alarming. The connection between hunger and poverty is apparent here. 2008 estimates from the World Bank suggest 62% of Central Africans are living at or below the poverty line, with the UN indicating a life expectancy of just 52.9 years. The country's GNI per capita is $663, with a mean of 4.3 years of schooling completed against the expected 7.2 years. Since early 2013, ethnic and sectarian fighting in CAR has developed from a silent emergency into a complex humanitarian crisis. Conflict has severely affected the livelihoods and living conditions of over half of the 4.6 million population. It's also forced over 500,000 citizens to flee to neighboring countries and has increased the number of Central Africans in need by 13% since March 2018. The country also has one of the world's highest rates of child mortality. In mid-2014, Concern began livelihoods, food security, water, and sanitation programs in Bangui and Ambelampoko prefectures to help those whose lives have been disrupted by violence. 1. Niger. A combination of a GNI per capita of $906, life expectancy of 60.4 years, and a mean 2 years of schooling, against an expected 5.4, lead to Niger topping the UN's Human Development Report as the world's poorest country. World Bank data from 2014 estimate 44.5% of the country's population of 21.5 million living in extreme poverty. Concern has worked in Niger for 16 years, helping communities face several daunting development challenges, which are exacerbated by terrorist incursions, migration, climate change, and excessive population growth. Poverty manifests in Niger through high levels of food insecurity, illnesses including endemic malaria, and poor access to services including water and sanitation. Crises around agriculture have compounded into hunger and nutrition issues and have affected much of the Nigerian population in the last 20 years, jeopardizing the lives of millions of people. This has led to 3 major crises in the last 10 years. We launched our Integrated Resilience Program in 2012 with 12 villages and 1,000 families. In 2014, we expanded to 17 more villages and now work with over 2,600 families to increase access to quality healthcare services and education, improve food security and nutrition, foster gender equality, and enhance livelihood systems and environmental protection, some of the main causes of global poverty. You have come to the end of a video. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe and like.